She saw it, she read it, she thought about it, and yet she decided not to respond. At that exact moment, her phone buzzes with dozens of notifications, stories being viewed, photos liked, memes received, group chats. But when it's your name that appears on the screen, silence. It's not a bug, it's not carelessness, it's a choice. And here's the brutal contradiction. The more you make yourself available, the more invisible you become. This is the kind of silent game that no one teaches you, but that every man feels firsthand. You're not being ignored for lack of topics. You're being ignored because she sees you as predictable. And predictability in the world of attraction is the death of desire. With every "hi, I've been missing you" send, with every "how was your day" without a response, you reinforce the narrative that keeps you on the shelf of the forgettable. It's cruel, I know, but that's exactly why this video isn't about messages. It's about perception. It's not about what you write. It's about how she feels when she reads your name. And if you don't know how to generate emotion in her subconscious, even in silence, you'll always be the guy she keeps around, but never really chooses. So pay attention, because in the next few minutes, you'll understand what's really behind this silence. And what's more, you'll discover how to turn the tables before it swallows you up. She's not busy, she's not sleeping, and she definitely didn't forget to respond to you. The truth is more uncomfortable. She saw the notification, your name flashed on the screen, she assessed it, and decided that responding to you now isn't necessary, because in her eyes, you're already guaranteed. This is what most men don't understand. When you're always there, always present, always trying to please, your attention becomes running water, abundant, predictable, disposable. And who values water that never runs out? No one. When a woman takes a long time to respond but is online, she's not playing a game with you. She's revealing your real position in her game. And this is where many fall into a mental trap. They rationalize the silence as carelessness, as routine, as "she must be busy." This is a comfortable lie created to preserve your ego. But every emotional comfort you create without any basis in reality has a price, that of continuing to be invisible. Felipe Alves calls this the fascination with the predictable, where men believe that constant presence will generate connection, when in fact it only generates saturation, because what is always present is never valued. And if you stop to think about it, you have never intensely desired something that you already knew was guaranteed. Desire demands uncertainty. Desire feeds on doubt. And that is why that guy who disappears, who seems emotionally unattainable, who seems to live in a world where she is just part of the scenery, makes more of an impact than the guy who sends 3 messages a day asking if she has had lunch. This is not cruelty. It is biology. It is psychology. It is an unconscious strategy for social survival. She desires what she cannot control. And by being too accessible, you have become a fixed point on a map that she has already memorized. Now, do you understand why that message of yours remains unanswered for hours or days? Because your predictability numbs it. And the man who numbs it loses. The philosopher Ortega y Gasset wrote that love is surrender in the face of fascination. But there is no surrender without tension, and there is no fascination without emotional distance. So if you want to regain space in her mind and emotions, you need to become less present, less obvious, less automatic, because her silence is not an absence. It is a mirror, and it is showing you exactly where you are on her priority map. If it bothers you, it is because it is working. And it is exactly from here that the truth begins to really hurt. Because in the next block, you will discover that she does not ignore you out of contempt, but out of convenience. And that, without realizing it, you may be occupying the most pathetic place of all, that of emotional insurance. You are not being rejected. You are being kept. Like an emotional plan B, discreet, silent, but always available. This is what no one tells you. She doesn't block you because she doesn't want to lose you completely. But she doesn't choose you either, because you don't represent a risk. You represent comfort. There is a cruel but accurate expression. A woman keeps someone she doesn't want, so she doesn't have to face the emotional void if the ones she really wants fail. You have become the spare tire on a journey that is not hers. The what-if guy. The guy on the shelf, the one she doesn't consume, but also doesn't throw away. Because your presence serves as a reminder someone is still available to me. And for her ego, this is like emotional sugar. She responds to you with homeopathic doses of attention, just enough to keep you around. A heart of ice with crumbs of warmth. And you, diluted, interpret it as connection. This is the fatal error. Casey Zander nailed it. She wants your constant presence to feed her own emotional security. But desire? Desire lives in risk, not in certainty. And you pose no risk. You have become a fixed, reliable, static point. And worse, you are proud of it. How many times have you thought or said, "But at least she still talks to me"? This is the tragedy of masculinity trained to seek approval. You don't want a woman. You want the certificate of acceptance. And that is where she wants you. Not in bed, not in her heart, but in her emotional pocket, along with her other emergency contacts. And what makes this more tragic is that deep down, you already know it. Every silence she gives is a reminder that you are being held, not loved. And yet you respond quickly, comment, compliment, insist, because you still believe that more presence generates more connection. This is false. Neil Strauss showed in The Game that the most desired men are not the most communicative. They are the hardest to keep. Because they are the ones who have multiple options. They are the ones who never need to prove their worth. They are not concerned with pleasing. They live as if they are the prize. And that's the brutal difference. You beg for approval, while the other person is approved by the way they live. And do you know what's even crueler? She tests you on purpose. She takes a while to respond, just to see if you're still there. She posts something provocative to see if you comment. She reacts to your story just to pull you back. But the next day, she disappears. Again. Because her power lies precisely there, knowing that she can turn you on and off like a button. If you accept this role, you'll live the cycle of the emotional slave. Always available, always useful, but never wanted. And as much as it hurts, it's better to wake up with the truth than to go to sleep with an illusion. Because if you want to be chosen, you need to stop offering yourself. The choice only happens when the risk of losing you is real. And that only happens when you disappear. Not as revenge, but as a strategy. She chooses, always. Not because you insist, not because you prove that you are different, not because you are always there telling her that she deserves the world. She chooses because, somewhere between what you say and what you convey, something touches her emotional system. Something that cannot be explained in words, but that activates an internal signal. This man cannot be ignored, and this signal, contrary to what most people believe, rarely arises from logic. It arises from absence, from risk, from the feeling of imminent loss. It is in this empty space that desire grows. You don't have to be the most handsome, the richest, or the funniest, but you do have to be the rarest. The man who is not available to just anyone. The man who seems to live something greater than the need to please. When you take the focus off conquering and start living as someone who already has value and doesn't need to validate it, you start to mess with her perception. The lens through which she sees you changes. And here is the key point. Women don't respond to what you say. They respond to the energy you transmit. And this energy comes from emotional status, not verbal effort. You can spend hours sending the perfect text, but if she feels like you're trying to win her over, you'll be seen as needy. Now, if you respond calmly, selectively, and strategically cool, as if you're not trying to prove anything, she'll ask herself, what does this guy have that doesn't need to impress me? That's when she starts chasing you. But not because you forced it. Because you've activated what Neil Strauss calls the perceived scarcity dynamic. When a man seems unapproachable, but not arrogant. When he demonstrates power, but without aggression. It's the subtle balance between being present and being unattainable. And this balance can't be taught with words. It can be trained with presence. She needs to see that you have a life that doesn't revolve around her. That you're courted by others, admired by many, and controlled by none. That's when the choice happens. And when she realizes that you might be lost, she moves. Because the fear of loss is stronger than the will to conquer. Robert Greene said, "Poeticize your presence." That means becoming unforgettable, not through excess, but through impact. Being there less often, but with more force. Being rare, not common. Being tense, not certain. The man she's chasing doesn't need to run. He just lives in such a magnetic way that his absence is felt as a mistake that needs to be corrected. And that's what changes everything. If she ignores you, it's not carelessness, it's a decision. And if you still believe you need to prove something to be seen, you're playing the loser's game. Her silence is not a punishment, it's a test. And every time you respond with more effort, the more you confirm that she's in control. But control changes when you change. When you stop trying, when you disappear, not out of pride, but out of self-respect. Because those who want to appear. Those who disappear teach you to disappear too. And those who live with purpose, with presence, with magnetism, they don't need to ask to be chosen. They are the very invitation to desire. If you understood this, comment below. I left Plan B. Not out of anger, but because she discovered that being rare is the only way to be truly desired. And now, let her see your name. And feel afraid of never having you again.